Good evening and welcome to tonight's St. John Ward 3 Municipal Council debate. This debate is hosted by the New Brunswick Telegraph-Journal and Rogers TV. I'm your moderator, Kurt Peacock. I'm the city columnist with the New Brunswick Telegraph-Journal, and we are here tonight at the École Samuel de Champlain Auditorium in sunny St. John, New Brunswick. Tonight's debate will cover the many, many issues surrounding Ward 3 as the people of the city centre riding select a new councillor in the upcoming by-election, which will take place on Monday, May 13th. The order of the candidates has been determined by draw prior to coming to the stage. I will now introduce 7 of the 8 candidates who will be taking part in tonight's debate. There is an 8th candidate, Marc LeBlanc, who was invited to participate in this evening's discussion, but he respectfully declined. The 7 participating candidates are Anne-Marie Mullen, Jerry Lowe, Alan Leslie, Michelle Hooton, Brian Boyd, Barbara Ellenberg, and Graeme Stewart-Robertson. Please join me in congratulating all the candidates for offering their names for elected office. I will now introduce the panelists for this evening's discussion. They are 2 of my colleagues at the newsroom in the New Brunswick Telegraph-Journal, Mary Ellen Saunders, who is the respected city editor, and Eric Marks, who has the very difficult job of filling out the opinions page every day and encouraging robust debate, not just in the city, but throughout the province. I'll now, before we go into the actual forum, introduce some of the rules of the debate. Each candidate will begin with a 30-second introductory statement. The first candidate will then be posed a question from one of our panelists. The candidates will all have 60 seconds to respond to every question. After all the candidates have commented on the question at hand, there will be a 2.5-minute moderated discussion. All candidates are encouraged to participate in this open debate, and I, as moderator, will attempt to keep some semblance of order. Because there are many, many issues facing St. John, we are going to try and cram in as many questions as possible during this broadcast. And we thank viewers and readers who sent some of their own questions to the newspaper earlier this week. As we near the very end of the debate, the candidates will once again be asked to give a statement. The closing statements will be delivered in a reverse order from that of the opening statements. Each candidate will once more be given 1 minute to speak. Without further ado, we will begin with the opening comments. And the first opening address will be from Anne-Marie Mullen.
Good evening. Thank you very much for Telegraph-Journal and Rogers for having the opportunity for our candidates to do this evening. My name is Anne-Marie Mullen, and I have lived in Ward 3 for the last 25 years. My involvement in the community, I have had a business here for 26 years. I've been very active in the community, and I'm an advocate for seniors and also for youth, and I bring great experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry?
My name is Jerry Lowe. I was born and raised in the southern part of the ward. I spent 35 years carrying mail for Canada Post, of which 21 I worked for the Letter Carriers Union. And through those years, I renovated many houses in the area, and I operated a taxi company for roughly 43 years. I finished up by building houses on the Old Rockland Road overlooking the harbour. In the last 6 years, I've been on the Planning Advisory Committee and on Plan St. John. Thank you.
Alan?
Thank you. My name is Alan Leslie. I'm a almost 15-year resident of the ward. I moved here to attend school some 14 years ago and have decided to make St. John my home. In the interim, I have lived in the lower South End, a little more towards the uptown area, as well as on the east side. I wish to speak for you, the downtrodden, those who feel they don't have a voice. I'm your candidate.
Michelle.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Michelle Houghton. What I'm hearing on the campaign trail is that we have to keep moving forward. A group of moms on the Lower West Side want a safer neighborhood for their kids. Elderly couple on East would like better roads. Voters on the Peninsula would like better housing. If we work together, we can make Ward 3 a better place to live and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian.
Thank you, sir. My name is Brian Boyd. I am 36 years old. I have been in St. John for 6 years, and I am the newcomer to all this, I guess. I love St. John. St. John's a place I said I would never live, but St. John is my home, and nothing beats St. John anywhere in this province or the Maritimes as far as I'm concerned. Moving forward is a great thing that we need to do. We need to learn from our past mistakes, live in the present, and be sure we're ready for the future as well. Thank you.
Barb.
My name is Barbara Ellenberg, and I am a daughter, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a concerned citizen. I've lived in many parts of the ward, and I've worked in many parts of the ward with the very, very young. I currently own my own child care center. And with the very, very old, I've been in the hospital running the veterans program until that closed, and I've done home care, and I'm very anxious to show you that I have some skills that I think would be a great asset to the current council, and thank you.
Thank you. Graeme.
Thank you, Kurt. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Graeme Stewart-Robertson, an urban environmental geographer, project manager here in the city of St. John. I want to focus as a candidate for Ward 3 on the sustainability and livability of our community. And that's something that I have a unique educational and professional background to bring to the table. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I'm really excited to discuss the issues with my fellow candidates. And for you at home, this is a great way to spend your Friday night, and I hope you're going to learn a lot. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, we'll dive right into the main event. And so what I'll do now is I'll turn to our panel, and they can ask the first question of the evening.
Certainly. Ms. Mullen, St. John continues to have the highest tax rate in the province. At the end of Council's mandate in 3 years, should the tax rate be higher, lower, or the same as it is now? If you feel it should be lower, please identify where you feel Council could find the savings.
I'm very concerned about the taxes here in St. John. In fact, it's one of my priorities. In the next 3 years, I certainly would work very hard to decrease it, at least keep it the way it is, but to decrease it. And how would I do that? I think it's very important that we are starting to market our city, and so that we can have more people moving in to the city to bring the tax dollars that we need so badly here. We have the highest taxes in Atlantic Canada, and people are moving out. We want people to move back in. We're economically, we need the money. We really do. We need investment as well. And so what we need to do is we have Enterprise St. John that needs to be accountable and bring investment, and we need to know about it. We also have to consult with the citizens.
Thank you. Jerry, your thoughts on taxes?
The taxes pretty well have to stay what they are now to have the services we have here in the city. But the only way it'll get better if we increase the tax base, and we can do that by filling the vacant lots, both on residential and on a business aspect, right? And the way we can fill the vacant lots is by using incentives, both monetary and non-monetary. And it's just a case of, like, if naturally we don't want the taxes to rise, because if they do, we'll lose the people that we have. We'll lose them to the outside in areas, right? But the main thing is that we try to build, do incentives to fill the vacant lots, and we get lots of them here in the city. Good.
Thank you. Alan.
Unfortunately, in the foreseeable future, being the next 3 years, I cannot see our tax rate being reduced given our current population and tax base. Unless we are able to bring in decent jobs, decent paying jobs, investment in the form of business, light industry, medium industry, and heavy industry to provide jobs for our people, money in their pockets. We can afford more. They can build on those vacant lots that you spoke of, Jerry, because they have the money in their pockets to buy the houses and pay for them. Right now, we don't have that. We cannot afford a tax hike at this time. We can barely afford to hold the line as it is, but with the current budgets that we have to deal with the problems we currently have, we must, unfortunately for the foreseeable future, maintain our tax base as it is. But let's get some decent paying jobs and industry and light industry, heavy industry, jobs in here so we can afford to pay for services.
Thank you, Alan. Michelle.
Thank you. I think it's incumbent upon council to continue to look for efficiencies and to be able to effectively deliver services. The most important thing that council can do is to continue on in a collaborative and cooperative manner, professionally discuss issues at the council table so that potential investors, when they're looking to St. John, they see a professional board of directors guiding the city. That'll inspire confidence. That will inspire companies to want to come to St. John. And with them will come good jobs. And with good jobs, people will be able to invest. They'll be able to buy homes. They'll be able to spend their money in the community. And all of that will go towards reducing the tax rate. But today, I think the best that we can do is to maintain the tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian.
Thank you, sir. In the next 3 years, our tax rate should never be going up. We can't wait for investors to see us. We need to be going after investors. We need, as a city, to be going after jobs. Looking towards Enterprise St. John, Plan SJ, all these other groups that we have, we need to make sure that they are held accountable, they're being efficient and effective for what we have them for. If we don't have investors coming to the city, we need to be going and getting them. That's the problem with St. John in the last 10 years. We haven't gone out and searched. We put all our eggs in the basket with the second refinery and the second reactor, and it fell through. Now we're putting all our eggs in one basket with the east-west pipeline. If that falls through, what's our backup plan? We need to make sure we're going out, we're hitting it hard, and we're going after every business and every tax dollar we can. The more people we have in the city, the lower our tax rate can be, and the more people we have moving back to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara.
As a taxpayer, there's no way I want to see that tax rate go up. It can hold its own like it has been, and I'm hoping it'll go down. The thing is, if someone's in the thrift store worrying about buying a loaf of bread, what are extra taxes going to do? There are people out here in our city, this urban center, that are hurting. We can't afford that tax rate to move. We need people to have good paying jobs. I don't like the idea that one of my 4 children is working in Moncton. I want her back. And I know that we can do this. If we stand up and we invite people in a caring, logical, common sense approach, I know people will come to the city because this is a beautiful city. I love this city, and I'm going to continue to love this city, and I need your help.
Thank you. Graeme.
The question of taxation is one basically of quality. The tax rate cannot certainly increase. We need to focus on improving efficiencies so that we can offer better value for what ratepayers are paying. When we look, for example, at our water system, as a project manager, looking for efficiencies and ways to lower costs, I look not just at what our treatment options are, but at perhaps the volume of water that we have to treat. 75 billion liters a year is a lot of drinking water. If we focus on reducing the, for example, usage of water, then we can create a more efficient system. We can move forward. We can become more adaptable to volatile, unstable, complex systems that our city runs within. We need to understand these perspectives, and as a potential candidate with a very profound knowledge of these issues, I feel like we can not only maintain the tax rate, but we can provide world-class services for every resident of the City of St. John.
Perfect. Well, thank you, all of you, for your thoughts. Obviously, nobody likes paying taxes. Nobody likes paying a high water bill. But we have in St. John, in both water and the tax rate, some of the highest rates in the province. Graeme had mentioned, maybe finding some efficiencies in water usage. Are there other efficiencies that you guys can think of that you would want to apply to Common Council?
There are countless efficiencies, Kurt. I mean, if you look at the range of services that the City of St. John offers, from plowing in the winter to transit, you name it. There's all sorts of ways that we can improve the efficiency of our municipal operations from the very beginning. Road reconstruction costs can be reduced by things such as road diets, by increased usage of public transit so that we're using less cars on our roads, by focusing our commercial truck traffic on only certain arterial routes so that we reduce their impact on residential roads, which we all drive on every day. There are efficiencies throughout the entire municipal system that we need to look at modern responses to. We need to look at what the best practices the world over are so we can create an environment for success here in the City of St. John.
Thank you. I'll let others jump in.
Well, in terms of quality of life, efficiency, something that I've had a lot of voters suggest to me, which I think is very clever, when we have the parking commission going out and ticketing cars, something that would improve the quality of life, particularly for Ward 3, are the soft issues like the poop and scoop. Someone who is illegally dumping. When a parking commissioner is out ticketing cars, if they saw a violation, rather than leave it to a bylaw enforcer, maybe there would be an efficiency there that they could do two jobs at once and then improve the quality of life for Ward 3 residents.
Wonderful. Other stuff.
It's also taking back City Hall as well and making sure that each and every department that gets money out of our budget every year is being accountable for what they're spending it on. Discover St. John and Enterprise St. John and Plan St. John have all been created and for effective, efficient purposes. And if we're not making sure that they're not effective and we're not making sure they're efficient in doing the job that we have laid out for them as a city and as a council, then we need to either revamp it or get rid of them. These are $800,000, $1 million, $1.2 million entities that we have that take a big part of our budget. And if they're not doing the job, then I'm sorry, we have to revamp or get rid of.
Well, and we've been nominated as the 7th most intelligent community. Can we not use the resources that we have in this city? The people that work here and live here and know, do we have to always look elsewhere for workers or elsewhere for people to come and tell us what to do? I think we can use the people, the resources we have here. I know we can do it.
Wonderful. I think there's not enough consultation with the citizens of what they want. And Brian, you mentioned up to Enterprise St. John, meeting once a year. Okay. We don't know as citizens, basically.
Wonderful. We'll come back to that. I'll just jump to the next question and then we'll continue this discussion.
Candidate Jerry Lowe. Ward 3 contains some of the oldest housing stock in the city. A good deal of it is in disrepair, while some select neighborhoods in the Uptown have access to heritage grants that enable renewal. What can City Hall do to encourage wholesale housing renewal throughout Ward 3?
Just repeat the end of it. I just couldn't hear the very end.
Yep. What can City Hall do to encourage wholesale housing renewal throughout Ward 3?
Well, in Ward 3, there's some very poor houses. First of all, I don't think every old house should be a heritage house, number one. Number two, I think that by using incentives to encourage people to build and then going back on the vacant lots. Like incentives in this city don't have to be monetary incentives. Well, first of all, we don't have the money. There's all kinds of different incentives you can do for builders, like run the lateral in from the middle of the street and hook onto the house like they do in Fredericton. St. John, they run it to the property line, they stop, you got to do it yourself. You can use the outside workers people to remove stuff on a vacant lot. so somebody could build on a vacant lot. I think you got to think outside the box to move ahead, to look after the housing stock in the city.
Thank you. Alan.
Mr. Lowe, I agree with you on many points. However, the vacant lots aren't so much the issue as it is the deterioration of the current housing stock in the city, which is, if any one of you who's walked through this ward during the past campaign, and any one of the audience that cares to look, get out of your car and walk through the south end, the old west side. Walk through the old north end. Walk through Waterloo Village. How many houses look like they're ready to fall down? How many look like fire traps? There's people living in them. The city can offer incentives as much as we have for our heritage housing. We can offer tax holidays, perhaps, to the landlords that would allow them to update the properties, do required maintenance. This is not to upgrade and get a higher rent. It is simply to bring them up to a decent, sanitary, safe living standard so they're warm in the winter.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. I think one of the most effective things that we could do would be to copy St. John's, Newfoundland. They've developed a code of equivalencies for the National Building Code so that these buildings that are so expensive, because they're 100 years old to develop, the National Building Code was developed for new builds. The 100-year-old buildings are so cost prohibitive because it's so difficult to try and renovate them. So if we were to develop a code of equivalencies, we could apply those to upper story, or the whole building, upper story renewal. Another thing that might be interesting is to look at property tax reform, so that if a homeowner decides that they want to improve the outside of the house, their assessment doesn't go up the next year. I've been in tons of homes where they were horrible on the outside. You go inside, they're lovely, and I ask them why, and it's because they don't want their assessment to go up. So perhaps that's something we could look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Brian.
Thank you. Walking through the ward the last couple weeks, it's amazing to see beautiful, beautiful houses up in the lower south end and the lower west side. And right next door you have buildings, you know, the buildings are falling down and they're crumbling. And we need to really sit down with homeowners, and we really need to figure out a plan here. I agree with Michelle. It's we should be, you know, encouraging the outside as well as the inside, and Mr. Lowe as well, not everything needs to be classified as a heritage building, and that's where a lot of people are running into problems. They're running into problems with the heritage part of the St. John, and it takes a lot of money to build it up. So I think we need to really sit down, a non-monetary relief, and see what they need to get these places back into code, and see what else we can do. Thank you.
Barb?
Housing is a giant issue in our city. And the thing is as a homeowner, I started out years ago in a one-room apartment over top of a Chinese food restaurant. And I said, now we own our own duplex, and I have lakefront property on 3 sides when it rains. We put every cent we had into getting our home up to snuff on the inside and the outside, bringing it to code, making it safe for the children, and we pay through the nose. I so wish that people would take pride in this community, because I feel if this facade could change, we could invite more people to come, show them who we really are, that we care about our homes, we care about the people here, and we want you to come and live with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Graeme?
Well, this is an excellent question. Especially looking at the city of St. John, where we have 44% of our housing stock, 14,000 units, which are older than 50 years old. It's an incredible number that creates great opportunities and great challenges. What we have here is both high-quality heritage buildings and development potential, which are what make Uptown St. John such an attractive place for all of us to live or work or just to visit. What we need to do is to focus more on what we can do to improve the environment that is going to create success. We need to be helping those homeowners, those landowners, to facilitate improvements through public investment in public lands adjacent to their private property, for example. We need to foster growth in our urban areas, which Plan SJ has already begun to do thanks to its development priority area identifications. And we need to focus on growing that same base so that we'll attract business, so that each and every landowner has a more viable home and a more viable viable business environment.
Thank you. Anne-Marie.
Basically, if you look at 2008, there was changes to the minimum property standard bylaw, and I don't think that that is actually looked at very, strongly. For instance, the landlord can be fined for a dilapidated building $1,000 by the city. In addition to that, and that's part of the property standards bylaw of New Brunswick, I believe. And in addition to that, I think that would at least ring a bell, and the landlords would do something about, fixing up the houses, so that for safety reasons, for environmentally reasons as well. And if they don't, there's a lot of absentee landlords. And as a result, I have found as I walked around that, people are very upset. They've got water problems, they've got all kinds, they've got leakage, and they're paying high rents for that. So I think you have to have action for this.
Thank you. Well, now we're going to continue the discussion on the housing question. And Anne-Marie, I wasn't able to let you finish the last moderated part, so I'll let you begin this time around. Anything more to add on the housing question?
On which question?
What other sort of initiatives should City Hall be undertaking on the housing front?
Oh, on the housing. Well, I think also that we have to work with the province of New Brunswick on the assessments, because what's happening is council is saying there'll be no new taxes, yet the province of New Brunswick is raising the assessments. And that was in the newspaper not long ago, where a gentleman, his taxes went up and he had to end up paying $4,000 and some dollars, and his house went from $141,000 to $270-some thousand. I mean, that is ridiculous. We need people here in the city of St. John. We want to bring them in. And as a result of that, if we have high taxes like that and we don't do anything and take action with the buildings that are already there, then, we're not going to get the people coming in.
Michelle?
Thank you. I think something that the city could do would be to put out an RFP to developers, complete with timelines, and have the specifications based on the needs that have been identified in Plan SJ. So then the city sells the lot at fair market value. The project comes in on time, and we'd then be able to offer a 5-year tax deferral to offset the price of the lot. So then it doesn't actually end up costing the developer anything. The ward gets a new building specifically to what we needed identified in Plan SJ. So the ward wins, the city wins, and the developer wins. It's a win-win-win.
Jerry?
We'd have to change the tax base, but if somebody fixed their house up for X number of dollars, and then the taxes are definitely going to go up in the home, if the city will rebate the city part of it to the person again, and do that over a period of, say, 4 or 5 years, the person doesn't suffer, the value of the home goes up, and everybody becomes a winner.
Graeme?
The key is here that we've created sort of an artificial environment which has created, as others have mentioned, an issue of improvements versus land. And what it's done is sort of handicapped us in a certain extent, where we focus too much on restrictions, such as enforcing a rigid heritage sign law while letting a building get dilapidated. We need to focus on public realm improvements so that those streets become attractive places for everyone and anyone to build and live in.
Thank you. We'll go on to the next question.